So a fair chance employer has to do with the firm belief that every individual deserves a fair chance. An individual that maybe has had a history of incarceration or has some sort of kind of criminal background should not be defined by that very worst day. Think about whether or not you want to go around applying for jobs, having that reminded to everyone reading your application. We have the opportunity to prove out that nothing and no one is waste, that everything has value and everyone has value.
People tend to be judgmental, you know. They don't understand why a person put themselves in the position that they are. They tend to not even give a person a chance to even get to know that person. Because, you know, they'll look at them like, hey, you was just locked up, so you just an automatic bad guy. Instead of sitting down, taking the time to talk to that person and understanding that person, where they came from, their lifestyle. Because, you know, I'm one of these people too. We could break this system, not fall back into that same category that we just came out of. I hope to prove that you can do anything you set your mind to, as long as you're willing to put forth the effort. Let's just use this stage to show people that we are better than what you perceive us to be.
Tech Dump is an electronics recycling and refurbishing organization, and we use that business model as a work readiness tool, working specifically with adults who have had a history of incarceration or are in recovery from addiction. We're pretty unique as a nonprofit where we have a very high percentage of earned revenue. And so we started truly with a desire to have some sort of business model that would pay for the wages for individuals coming through our program. And along the way, in 2011, we tested a concept called a Tech Dump, a 2-day event where you could bring your stuff and recycle it. And the rest is history. The community needs Tech Dump because e-waste, electronics waste, is the highest growing waste stream in the world. It is amazing the number of devices and electronics sitting in people's homes, sitting in storage closets at offices, and people just don't know what to do with it. And those items contain some, unfortunately, very hazardous materials, and they have amazing resources that we can actually turn back into the next electronic. So we have our social mission around training, our very important work around the environmental side, and then a really important piece on reselling this affordable technology. So when computers are retired, maybe from a large business, they still might have 3, 5, 7 years left of life on them. We can wipe the data, repair them, and sell them. And to have a $100 laptop, you just invited somebody to work from home on their resume, or for a kid that's learning whatever coding or technology in the classroom to work on it from home and to break some of those barriers that exist around technology. When I first started working at Tech Dump, I was amazed at just how challenging it truly was for a person to find a job because they had a felony in their background. For an individual that's coming out of incarceration, those gaps on a resume are immediate red flags to that employer. And so really what they need is the opportunity to prove that they have amazing value to bring to an employer. So during our 18-month work readiness training program, individuals are acquiring a variety of skills. The one I believe to be the most important is confidence. So often in their lives, they've been defined by this worst day, they've been defined by maybe a number while they were in prison, and they have so much to bring to organizations and so much value. We're working with them to connect them with amazing organizations that are helping with legal challenges, medical challenges, housing, transportation, to really break down the barriers that exist for an individual when they're re-entering our community. I truly believe that if a business wants to maximize its value to the community, it would structure as a social business, as a social enterprise. There's a lot of debate on whether you can do good and do well financially. I think there's also a piece of evaluating how we define success. So it may be that Tech Dump has a completely break-even year, which most would say if you don't have a net profit contribution, that's not a good sign. But if in that year we recycled 4 million pounds of electronics and worked with 78 trainees, I have a hard time believing that that's not success. And so I think that we need to really look at those definitions. But I do believe that you can do both. It doesn't have to be one or the other. It sometimes feels like one big social experiment that you really can run a business with high ethics and high standards and be focused on your community impact while still paying your bills. And so to model that out and to prove it is just, it's an amazing opportunity. And so in that case, like, why wouldn't you want to start a social enterprise?